Celia Taylor has always been in a hurry. It started when she was born 6 weeks early, weighing just 4 pounds. Here's Celia at an early age, waiting not too patiently or happily for Halloween and birthday celebrations. Celia was born in 1964 to Richard L. and Sally Edwards Taylor of Poughkeepsie, New York, where she grew up. Even as a child, Celia was always on the run. One time, when Celia and her friends were told there would be ice cream for dessert, they refused to wait and invaded the refrigerator on their own, causing the refrigerator to fall on Celia, breaking her leg. Her mother had the classic adrenaline rush and lifted the fridge off Celia, throwing out her back in the process. Celia and her mom had to share a hospital room.
Up in the morning and out to school.
In elementary school, Celia's favorite teacher was Mrs. Maccarelli. When Celia was bored, she would read a book that she kept inside her desk. Mrs. Maccarelli let her do this so long as she could answer her questions when called upon. None of Celia's students at DU can imagine her ever tolerating that.
So I don't know if you remember this, but her speed was unbelievable. And not only could you not be reading a different book, I mean really, but I was prepared and I couldn't find the stuff in the book where I'd already underlined it with my multicolored pens and had all my highlighting and my notes in the margin, and she was asking questions and she was going so fast I couldn't find what I had already read. Did you have that happen to you?
Yes, I mean, I just think she would never let you read in another class. She would totally catch you. And also, how would you ever be able to do it if you're typing away at 100 miles an hour because she speaks so fast? And you're like, where are you going? Oh my gosh, let me keep up. You had to be very organized to keep up with her class.
A way for Celia to spend lots of time outdoors was at camp as a brownie and later as a Girl Scout and camp counselor. The only problem with camp was that she missed her sister Janet, but she lucked out when her sister was hired to work at the same camp. Celia is very close to her sisters. Janet Gengemi, now a school principal in New Jersey, and Penny Rickberg, a writer and tutor now living in Dallas, Texas. Celia likes to point out that she grew up with no TV. Her father forbade TV and made the kids look up words they didn't know when they came up at the dinner table. Celia hated it at the time, but has since realized it was a reason for her success in later life. By the way, here's an old picture of Celia and Grandpa Edwards not watching TV. More than anything else, Celia loves animals. She's always had pets and loves her current pet cat, Dusty. She dreamed of being a vet and worked in the local pet store. The pet store was in the mall, and she thoroughly enjoyed taking the boa constrictor for a walk and freaking people out. Celia has always loved performing in front of an audience. In 8th grade, she was a ballerina, a make-believe elf called Twirl, and sang the song Honey Bun in her junior high school's production of South Pacific. In high school, Celia moved on to star in more sophisticated productions like Godspell. A self-confessed overachiever, in addition to excelling academically and being part of the drama club, Celia was on the gymnastics team, performed ballet, was in the marching band and wind ensemble, rode horses, and was on the swim team. Phew! After high school, Celia attended college at the George Washington University. Shed of all her extracurricular activities, Celia was able to concentrate on academics. She was on the dean's list every semester and graduated with high distinction. The most memorable part of her experience in D.C.? London. Celia didn't care much for GW, but truly enjoyed her junior year in London at the London School of Economics. In fact, her first international trip to London kicked off a lifelong love of international travel. Celia so far has traveled to 35 countries, including adventures in a few favorites like Australia, India, and Argentina. After college, Celia attended law school at NYU. She remembers food comas induced by the grandmother of one of her study group mates. Grandma Amato didn't know much English, but she knew how to cook and say, "You must eat!" In law school, Celia was on the Law Review and also in the Law Review, perhaps selected for the latter by her creativity in making up song lyrics to study first-year cases. Here are a couple of friends singing Celia's composition of Schaefer v. Heitner.
Schaefer v. Heitner signaled the end of in rem jurisdiction type 2. What's it to you?
Celia's favorite teacher in law school was Professor Eleanor Fox, who taught securities and influenced Celia's choice of expertise. Among Celia's lasting law school memories were parties at the Waldorf Astoria sponsored by John Kennedy Jr., who was in her first-year section at NYU. It was quite something seeing his mom, Jackie O, at school functions. After a time at the Howard Rice firm in San Francisco as a corporate securities lawyer, and then earning a master's in law at Columbia Law School, Celia entered the teaching market and accepted an offer at DU. Celia joined the Denver Law School faculty in 1994 and has made a substantial impact in both her teaching and her scholarship. In addition to being voted Teacher of the Year by students, she has made her mark writing about corporations and social responsibility. An early defender of human rights for women in the international arena and in corporate settings, her work on microcredits involving international women-owned small businesses has been published widely.
Celia's scholarship is Celia. How would anybody who knows Celia describe Celia? Celia is direct, she's linear, she's thorough, and she's blunt. Celia's scholarship is exactly the same. It's direct, it's linear, it is blunt and powerful. What point Celia is trying to make, she makes in a very convincing and direct way.
Here is Celia in Bangladesh with Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus. Yunus was awarded the Nobel Prize for founding the Grameen Bank and pioneering the concepts of microcredit and microfinance lending to those too poor to qualify for traditional bank loans. Celia has studied the Grameen Bank and traveled to Bangladesh to witness its operations firsthand. One thing Celia did not rush into was marriage, but eventually she met and married the love of her life, Jeff Miller. They were married in the DU chapel. She knew he was the one when they walked down from Baby Doe's Mine in Leadville singing old Broadway show tunes together. She was impressed Jeff knew all the words. Jeff is a jack of all trades, currently working at Visit Denver, helping tourists to learn more about Denver and Colorado. Jeff has been a DJ, flower deliverer, barista, and bartender, all in support of his first love, acting. Jeff has acted professionally for years and has been seen at some time or another on virtually every stage in Metro Denver.
As you may have noticed, Celia and I do not share the same last name. That's because when we got married, she allowed me to keep my last name, which I thought was very nice of her. Speaking of the wedding, one of the things Celia does not like is being the center of attention. In fact, she even said words to that effect just slightly before the wedding. I don't want to be the center of attention. To which I said, you're the bride. You're the center of attention. And once again, my love, you are the center of attention. So enjoy it, revel in it.
Will everyone here kindly step to the rear and let a winner lead the way?
No story of Celia's life would be complete without mentioning her love of the outdoors and hiking. She loves Colorado and all it has to offer for communing with nature. If you hike with her, be careful though. She doesn't really approach hiking like most people. Not one to stop and smell the roses, Celia likes to get where she's going and back fast. Here's what it looks like if you're hiking with Celia. And here's Celia at the end of the trail after she's left you in the dust.
Most people think a hike is walking around and looking at the scenery. Not with Celia. To her, it's a race, so you better be prepared. And if you dawdle too much, she gets mad, and if you dawdle way too much, she gives up the race and becomes a scout, looks at all the other trails coming up, and comes back to the wagon train and tells you what the best hike is.
Of course, Jeff is by her side whether hiking or traveling. Well, not by her side hiking. As Celia tells it, I beat him up the mountain, and he beats me down. Here's Jeff and Celia in Bangladesh with local fishermen. Jeff is a natural at languages, and so he does most of the talking when they travel. But Celia notes that is definitely not the case at home. Lately, Celia has been traveling to Russia with colleagues John Campbell and David Thompson. The trips are part of the LEX project, funded by the U.S.-Russia Foundation to bring innovative teaching techniques to Russian law schools. And on top of everything else, this year Celia was named to the Vednanda Chair and also serves as director of the Denver Law International Legal Studies Program. Please join us in congratulating this year's recipient of the Robert B. Yagi Award for Excellence in Teaching, the always on the go, Professor Celia Taylor.